All right, just going to get right into it. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with me today and every day. On the internets, we're live on YouTube, Rockfin, and on Callin. And today, Friday Fix. Kind of just doing a little more interactive stuff. Hello, everyone. Hello, how you doing, Osama? How you doing? Scott Andrews, Caleb, Andre. I don't know where this buzz is coming from. It's confounding buzz. Stop it. All right. I think it's gone. Okay. Oh my God. Jesus. Sorry, guys. I didn't really want it to devolve into this, but I'm not going to touch anything. All right. Okay, we're here. It's Friday Fix, and real quick, starting off, the very best ways to support the show, paypal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo @Kevin Sandblum, and buymeacoffee.com/BlackBearNews. I actually may have to end a little bit early because I might have to go to work early. But if y'all want to contribute, those are really great ways to contribute. If you if you want to contribute through Zelle, you can do it. However, it is it's a link to my phone number, which I don't want to give out on my video. So if you want to contribute through Zelle, I didn't have jury duty, right? Good job. Yeah, you remembered. Ultra high carb life. I wonder who has that. I wonder who that is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I didn't have jury duty today. I got, it was, well, I had to check in every night to see if they were going to call me in. And so I checked in last night and they were like, nope, you don't have to come. So that's cool. Oh, what was I saying? If you want to contribute through Zelle, you can do it, but, send me an email at blackbearnews@gmail.com, blackbearnews@gmail.com. And then I will give you the information and you can contribute through Zelle if that's what you want to do. All right. Ultra high carb life. I hope you're enjoying your morning. What was I going to start with? Well, so many things. Did you know that RFK Jr. doesn't have Secret Service yet? Yes, it is hot. It is very hot, by the way. It's very warm here. Is that what it is where you are, Osama? 9 UV and 99 degrees? Jeez. All right. Jeez, I say jeez. That's a lot. That's a lot of heat. You know what I'm saying? That is a lot. All right. Yeah, apparently RFK has requested, so when you run for president, you generally automatically get some Secret Service detail, and they won't give it to RFK Jr. That is very interesting. Let's check that out real quick. We'll just read the post. That could be true as well. Oops. Max Sarge. I'm going to say your name with a very French Sarge. Since the assassination of my father in 1968. Well, because of the assassination of his father. Basically, because of that, they instituted a program where you automatically get Secret Service detail. Since the assassination of my father in 1968, candidates for president are provided Secret Service protection, but not me. Typical turnaround time for pro forma protection requests from presidential candidates is 14 days. After 88 days of no response, and after several follow-ups by our campaign, the Biden administration just denied our request. Well, I wonder why. Secretary Mayorkas said, I have determined that Secret Service protection for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not warranted at this time. That seems interesting, considering he's pretty visible. I really don't hear anybody else talking about other Democratic candidates for president. Not Marianne Williamson, certainly. No offense, Marianne Williamson. I don't. No shade on Marianne Williamson. But anyways, I don't hear anybody talking about her candidacy very much. I do see a lot of people talking about RFK Jr. And anyways, Ultra High Carb Life says, thank you, Kevin. I'm an ultra runner who eats a high carb vegan diet. Nice. I love your channel. Thank you for all you do. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so it's very strange. They haven't given him. Meanwhile, this is the taxpayer-funded Secret Service motorcade Hunter Biden receives on his way to court. Wow. Going south, good one. Secret Service stand down instead of protecting a Kennedy. Now that's certainly unheard of. Yeah, very good. But you get a you get a cymbal crash for that, sir. Y'all remember that very famous incident? Everybody know what he's referring to? Does everybody know what he's referring to? When JFK was killed, there were Secret Service that were like on his car. And right as they were leaving to go out onto down the route, somebody called them off, and they were like, "What?" Their boss said, "Somebody called, whoever they were answer to said, get off the car. No, we don't need you." And they were like, "What?" And they got off the car, and and the rest is history. So that's why. That's what he's referring to. Indeed. Well, I'm glad he said something, because I didn't know that was happening, and that is pretty shocking, right? Yeah, isn't that crazy, Poppy? One of the weird things that happened that day. There were a lot of weird things that happened that day. Did I tell you I was watching the White House Plumbers? I think I told you I was watching White House Plumbers, which is a pretty good show. I finished it. And it's interesting because they insinuate that E. Howard Hunt was involved in the Kennedy assassination in that show. They heavily insinuate he was involved in it, which he's not a name that I've heard of. The name that I've heard of, and this is very interesting, Woody Harrelson plays E. Howard Hunt in the White House Plumbers, and there is an urban legend. Well, his dad, Woody Harrelson's dad, was there at the assassination, and that he might have been one of the gunmen. That's a very interesting connection, don't you think? It's very, very, very strange. Anyways. But they insinuate that, and what I also didn't know was that E. Howard Hunt's wife died in a plane crash just before she was talking to like a news reporter on a plane. I had no idea about this history. She was going to basically put a lot of information out there, and she died in a plane crash. Mysteriously. I mean, coincidentally. I mean, these things happen. Oh, it's all very intriguing, isn't it? What's up, Rockfin people? How you doing? I see you. Thanks for hanging out today. See all the usual folks on Rockfin. I don't see Denver though. Usually see Denver. Cyrus, I saw your comment. What do you mean? When you said you were looking at some radar information and you said they're definitely manipulating the weather, I know it's probably hard to explain in the chat, but I'd like to know what you mean by that. Or what it is you think that you see. I don't know. Well, let's go with this for now. Jimmer Girl News. Though snowpack regions constitute only 30% of the Colorado River drainage basin, the aridification has led to an 86% decrease in runoff. 86% decrease in runoff. If you're wondering why the Colorado is so low. Anyways, the Colorado River Basin provides fresh water to more than 40 people within the semi-arid southwestern United States, including major cities such as Las Vegas and Los Angeles. However, between 2000 and 2021, the basin experienced a mega drought, a severe drought lasting multiple decades, which researchers have suggested likely would not have occurred if it were not for anthropogenic climate change. Can you even call it a mega drought? I mean, sure. You can call it a mega drought, but if it's due to climate change, which to my knowledge isn't predicted to stop any time soon, is only predicted to get worse and escalate, just an ongoing worsening drought that kind of goes on forever into the future. That's, I think, a better word for it, right, than mega drought. Mega drought suggests that maybe it will end. And so if you understand if the cause is anthropogenic warming, is there an end of the mega drought, or is there just a new regime? I would say that there's a new regime. It's not a mega drought. It's just going to get drier and drier and drier, right? Anyways. And that's just how it's going to go. I know that sounds very, very negative. In particular, during 2020 and 2021, the river basin recorded the driest 20-month period since 1895 and the lowest river flow since 1906. Dr. Benjamin Bass and colleagues at the University of California aim to identify how precipitation and runoff within the basin have changed since the 1880s, in line with a 1.5 C increase in temperature over the same period. New research published in Water Resources Research identified 10.3% decrease in runoff within the basin as a direct result of anthropogenic warming and vegetation changes in the landscape, meaning available water sources to support the local population have declined by 2.1 kilometers cubed. Is that right? Am I reading that right? I don't know. I feel like I'm reading that wrong. Furthermore, the scientists found that snowpack regions were significantly impacted by aridification, exacerbating the decline in runoff to twice that of neighboring areas. The snowpack regions constitute only 30% of the Colorado River drainage basin. The aridification has led to an 86% decrease in runoff, losing 1.2 kilometers cubed of water per C of warming. Why am I not reading that correctly? This is likely due to worsen due to albedo feedback, whereby the declining snow reduces the lighter white snow surface to reflect heat from solar insolation, instead exposing more of the land to absorb heat and ultimately increasing temperature further, which causes more snow to melt. And so the feedback loop continues. Hey, feedback loops. They're not just for breakfast anymore. Using global climate models and historical data, the researchers performed simulations to assess the trends in runoff with anthropogenic changes, as well as predicting the scenarios if human influence is removed. They found that the drainage basin runoff has decreased 1.2 kilometers cubed since 1954, but suggest that runoff would have actually increased 0.9 kilometers cubed had the influence of global warming and elevated CO2 not occurred. Atmospheric carbon dioxide is estimated to have been 285 parts per million in 1880, compared to 313 parts per million in 1950 and 416 parts per million in 2021. It is the influence of increasing CO2 and resulting climate change that show a clear trend in declining runoff, enhancing pace since the 1980s. Vegetation plays an important part in river drainage, river basin drainage, also by counterbalancing runoff. The researchers described how elevated CO2 levels cause stomata, pores for gas exchange, on the underside of leaves to close and reduces transpiration, release of water vapor through stomata. However, elevated temperatures lead to increased rates of evaporation from the leaf surface, and this process outweighs any water resource efficiency from transpiration, leading to a net loss of water from the plants. Overall vegetation does help to offset runoff losses by 15%, though the degree to which this is effective depends upon the type and coverage of vegetation in the basin. The mega drought since 2000 has experienced a 0.48 C increase in temperature and a 3.1% reduction in precipitation than the climate average, while its exacerbation in late 2021 to early 2022 coincided with elevated temperatures of 0.83 C higher than the climate mean, plus a 23.9% and 38.6% decrease in precipitation and runoff, respectively. That's a pretty big decrease in precipitation. But we know that the Colorado River flow is decreasing. All right. Let's keep going. What is next on the dock? Sorry, it's taking a little time for things to load. Takes a little time. A really good tweet. We still call them tweets. What do you call them if the website is called X? Then what do you call the things that we now call tweets? You call them, I don't know what you call them. Threads. Yeah. I mean, they do. It's interesting though. Isn't that the name of the new Facebook app? Am I wrong? Am I imagining that? Axe going south says Axe. X's says Andre. Freedom Messages says creative experiments. Deeb says doofards. Doofards. Okay. All right. Is the new Facebook thing called Threads? Is that right? It is right. G. Demarest, you're saying yep to my question. That's a pretty unimaginative name, right? Since Twitter threads are already called threads. Anyways. The plan for climate change in the U.S. will be like its plan for coronavirus. Let people die. The wealthy will move out of hot places just like they bounced during their second homes during the pandemic, and the poor will be left to languish under extreme temps and militarized police. It's pretty good stuff. Mark Bevis retweeted that. Then the wealthy will realize they have no one to fix their plumbing, no one to fill their generators or petrol tanks, nor deliver their groceries. Can you imagine the fat elites actually gardening? I don't know. That's probably what the army will end up doing, right? End of the World Party says exactly that is the plan, but it's not going to go the way they expect because the rich are not smarter than everyone else. Ooh, good point. They're not smart. Did I say doofards the other day? I don't even remember. I don't remember saying that. Doofards? Did I say that? I was trying to say something else, I think. No, give me 1 second, Ryan. I'll take your call in 1 moment. Yeah, they have these big plans, but they're really not necessarily, their plans have a lot of holes in them. They don't really understand unintended consequences. Dooftards. Okay. Yeah, dooftards. Okay, that makes sense. Indeed. Dooftards. They don't understand what they're doing, or they don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. They don't understand blowback. That blow is a military term. What happens when you go do a military escapade, an empirical military escapade somewhere else in the world, and you don't really plan on what's gonna, you don't plan on the unintended consequences. And in that way, you set yourself up to fail. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
What's up? This is actually Brady, just in one of my proxy forums.
Oh, I got you.
Just looking into Panquake, kind of wondering what's going on with Panquake, and I was just like checking out their website, and it looks like it's not fully functional yet. Like they got a messaging service up and running so far, based on blockchain tech.
Okay.
And that's cool, but
I kind of forgot all about Panquake. I mean, I haven't really heard anything about that. Yeah, and then there's also sorry, man. There's a lot of delay on your end. What was I going to say? Panquake. There's what's the one that Ryan Christian was a part of? There's another, and then there's dang it, there's so many. I can't keep them all straight.
There's also Minds. Minds might be another one you're thinking of.
Minds is all right. I don't know. There's so many. It just gets really fragmented. It's hard to. there's so many social media apps already to manage and juggle that, beyond, I can't even manage and juggle the ones that I'm supposed to manage and juggle, like Instagram or Facebook or, what, or TikTok, or I can barely manage like Twitter and my one account on Twitter and YouTube and doing the show. And that's about it. That's all. I don't have, and I don't have a lot, and I don't really do a lot of scrolling. I'm actually moving. It's difficult because I'm moving farther away from social media beyond Twitter. I use Twitter to gather stories for the show, right? Basically, it's a good kind of like, full. I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a good funnel for like things that are going
source.
on. Yeah, it's a source. Good. Yeah,
good muse. I use TikTok the same way. I'll spend like 5 minutes on TikTok and end up with like 3 really good stories that I could just go off on a tangent on and do a deep dive on, find out all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, no, TikTok is interesting that way. I just get bombarded by 3 side hustles you've never heard of, or whatever. Like I just get a stream of those, the side hustle videos, and in random like videos I don't really want to see, and in there somewhere are good stories.
There's a trick to manipulating the TikTok algorithm. If you press the back button once on your main feed, it takes you to a different page that has more interesting stuff, so to say.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like an interesting little hack. Like if you don't like the material you're seeing, like if it's giving you a bunch of spammy material, hit the back button. You hit the back button one time and it takes you to this alternate feed where there's much more interesting information. And it doesn't take much tweaking to start to get a really good algorithm going on TikTok. I have to say, as far as algorithms go, TikTok is pretty cool. Also, shouts out to Odyssey as well. Hats off to Library and Odyssey.
I do like Odyssey. I haven't really uploaded any videos to Odyssey lately, but I dig the model, and I like. There are a lot of good models out. In a sense, Minds is actually a pretty cool model. I just don't know that a lot of people are on Minds. And I was on, I don't know what, there were several like kind of Twitter alternatives a few years ago. I was on one of them. I can't even remember the name of it. There's also Truth Social. There's I don't know. There's like 10 Twitter alternatives, and I can't remember them all. Anyways.
Yeah, I have a Minds profile that I never use.
Yeah, I do too, and I just it seems like a good idea. I just don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to manage all these social media accounts. I really don't. I should. I need to get it. I need to get it together and do that. But anyways, man, thanks for the call in. I appreciate it, and thanks for the tip on TikTok. I will try and use that because I am getting kind of spammed up whenever I go to TikTok right now. All right. But I am increasingly dubious of X or Twitter or whatever the hell is going on there. The more I hear about it, the more I hear of the ultimate intentions of Elon Musk and the X.com idea, the more I'm like, geez, I guess I'm going to have to leave, probably sooner than later. They're going to start, insisting that you verify, or else this is what I hear. They're going to start insisting that you verify, or else the app will become, more and more unusable for you. And that's unfortunate because Twitter is such a great resource. It is really a great resource. So if they mess that up, it's going to be messed up. How's that for deep thoughts? This is from Steve Austin, the Bionic Man. I realize it may get me labeled a doomer, but wasted resources, emissions, time, and money like this don't exactly fill me with confidence that we're going to pull this out. Nope. Morphogenesis completes world's largest office building in India. Morphogenesis has unveiled the Surat Diamond Bourse in India, which has surpassed the Pentagon to become the world's largest office building. Good Lord. I mean, isn't it the craziest part about this is that office space is or office space vacancy is at an all-time high. Why? Because people are working, people have computers and the internet, and they don't need to actually go to the office. So what do you need a huge office for? I don't know. Offices are passé. So why are you building the world's largest office space? I see, even in LA, I mean, there's just there are tons of empty office buildings, and all of it is just a big money pump, right? You get the development money, you build the office space, you're like, yeah, we're gonna have some shops and maybe some cool like other alternative use spaces and stuff like that, and they sell the idea and they get the fund, the money, the loans to build, and it's just and then they get the contractors, they build the whole thing, and it's just they end up being like half empty and probably useless in the next decade. So all of this stuff, it does look like it's from 1960. It actually is not a bad looking design. Yes, going south. All the positive feedback loops McPherson talked about 15 years ago are all coming about. I know. I find it ironic and sad that that one of the most popular tweets out there is like, "Oh, they were predicting climate change for 30 years and nothing happened." It's like the most clueless stuff ever. I mean, how long can you keep pumping that out? Absolutely nothing is going on. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing to see here. Reports of dead salmon on Newfoundland and Labrador rivers, likely caused by high water temperatures. Wow. We haven't heard of this happening before. Reports of dead salmon, likely caused by high water temperatures. You would expect salmon to die under these conditions. I mean, many rivers and waterways are experiencing exactly these same problems. Warm water is driving the fish away and or killing them. And that has knock-on effects for all the other animals that rely on the fish for food. Right? I mean, this has long-lasting effects for the environment in general. Chris Humber says he's seen a lot as an avid angler over the years, but he doesn't remember the waters at Great Rattling Brook near the Exploits River ever being this warm. We usually get warm temperatures every summer, right? But it seems like this year it's been like remarkably hot weather, and it's brought the temperatures in the river up drastically. High temperatures over 20 C are being reported at rivers across Newfoundland and Labrador, according to Greg Purchase, a professor of fish biology at Memorial University. Other anglers who have shared photos with CBC News have reported dead salmon washing up at Lower Falls and Dunnville near Placentia. Other anglers have shared photos. While Humber said he hasn't seen any dead salmon himself, he and others fishing at Great Rattling Brook have decided to leave the fish alone for the time being. Purchase said water temperatures surpassing 22 and 23 C have been seen before, especially in the past few years, but seeing those reported temperatures for an extended period is concerning. I haven't observed dead salmon, but this is entirely predictable. You would expect salmon to die under these conditions. They're not adapted to deal with this. Okay. So that is happening. More reports of coral bleaching and or just coral death in Florida. Straight up coral death. We've never seen anything like this. Some are not even bleaching. They are going straight to dead. This is Florida's ghost reefs. Florida's vibrant underwater cities are turning into relics. Once colorful coral cities, overflowing with marine life, transforming into ghost towns, or better stated, ghost reefs, seemingly overnight. We were surprised by the pace. It is unprecedented what we have seen, says Scott Atwell, Communications and Outreach Manager for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. We've never seen anything like this. Some are not even bleaching. They are going straight to dead. Straight to dead illustrates just how extreme the marine heat wave is and how quickly it's evolving. When under stress, typically coral bleach first, expelling their symbiotic algae partners, which give them their vibrant hues and turn white. Then sometime later, if the heat persists, the coral can succumb and die. Right now, in the Florida Keys, there are reports of rapid mortality. Coral is dropping like dominoes across much of the reef tract from Key Largo to Key West, the third largest tract in the world and the only shallow water reef system in the U.S. mainland. About 25% of marine life depends on coral reefs during some stage of their life. If coral reefs vanish, it will have a cascading consequence across ocean's ecosystems and the life that it supports. Although the bleaching and mortality seem to be happening fast, getting to this point has taken about 2 months. For the past 10 plus weeks, coral has had to endure unusual heat stress. Water temperatures are at record levels in the low 90s along the reef tract, which is several degrees above the normal temperature in the mid 80s. So that is great, as in not great. So yeah, nothing happening. Climate change predicted for 30 years, nothing happening, unless of course you actually like to read or look at things that are happening on the internet. If you like to read stories and look at things that are actually happening, the urban area of Gwangju was hit by the center of a typhoon. Strong enough to blow out the windows of these apartment buildings. Again, more extreme weather events. It's kind of hard to see here. Anyways, yeah, these are blown windows all over these apartment buildings. So it looks like most of the windows were blown out. That is some serious wind. Blown out as in smashed. The wind gusts of up to 45.9 meters per second and a maximum of 51.4 meters per second along the coast, and the building glass was blown. Then some strong winds. A huge forest fire broke out in Syria. Seems like this is the sign of the times. In the Deir Othman region area of Darkush of Syria. Floods, droughts, forest fires, body blow. Let's look at this. 60 years of climate change warnings. The signs were there all along. And I think we're gonna finish with this one, guys. I gotta end a little bit early today. I can't really go past 1, and I'm probably gonna have to take off just a little bit early because I got some things to do. 60 years of climate change warnings. The signs were there all along. This is a long read, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But we'll look at a little bit of this just for your edification. I like that, Poppy. That's very biblical, but also very apt. The meek shall indeed inherit the earth. The rich won't know how to survive without AC and other amenities. The rich being Westerners in this case, yes. Anyways, the effects of weird weather were already being felt in the 1960s, but scientists linking fossil fuels with climate change were dismissed as prophets of doom. Oh my. How dare you prophesize doom? In August 1974, the CIA produced a study on climatological research as it pertains to intelligence problems. No intelligence problems there at the CIA, of course. The diagnosis was dramatic. It warned of the emergence of a new era of weird weather leading to political unrest and mass migration, which in turn would cause more unrest. The new era the agency imagined wasn't necessarily one of hotter temperatures. The CIA had heard from scientists warning of global cooling as well as warming. But the direction in which the thermometer was traveling wasn't their immediate concern. It was the political impact. They knew what the so-called Little Ice Age, a series of cold snaps between roughly 1350 and 1850, had brought not only drought and famine, but also war. And so could these new climatic changes. That's very interesting. So, right? In the 70s, 60s and 70s, yes, right. There is, I suppose, or there could have been at one time this, well, they said we're going to go into an ice age. And then they said there was going to be global warming. Well, which one is it? Well, I think there was a time when it was like a stock chart. And you're like, some people were like, I think it's going to go this way, up. And some people were like, I think it's going to go this way, down. Right? And people place their bets. It doesn't look like we're going into an ice age, though, for sure. So I think we know which one was the winning hand. But there was a time when people didn't actually know which way it was going to go. But, the scientists pretty much had it right. They knew that the so-called Little Ice Age, a series of... Oh, I read that. The climate change began in 1960. The report's first page informs us, but no one, including the climatologists, recognized it. Crop failures in the Soviet Union and India in the early 1960s had been attributed to standard unlucky weather. The U.S. shipped grain to India, and the Soviets killed off livestock to eat. And Premier Nikita Khrushchev was quietly deposed. But the report argued the world ignored this warning as the global population continued to grow, and states made massive investments in energy, technology, and medicine. Interesting that they include medicine in there. Meanwhile, the weird weather rolled on, shifting to a collection of West African countries just below the Sahara. People in Mauritania, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad became the first victims of the climate change, the report argued. This is in 1974. It's very interesting. But their suffering was masked by other struggles, or the richer parts of the world simply weren't paying attention. As the effects of climate change started to spread to other parts of the world, the early 70s saw reports of droughts, crop failures, and floods from Burma, Pakistan, North Korea, Costa Rica, Honduras, Japan, Manila, Ecuador, USSR, China, India, and the U.S. But few people seemed willing to see a pattern. The headlines from around the world told a story still not fully understood, or one that we don't want to face. Very important. That part there. I try to have understanding for the people that don't understand climate change, because it's not really about not understanding it. It's about not wanting to face it. And that's a very human emotion. The claim that no one was paying attention was not entirely fair. Some scientists have been talking about the issue for a while. It had been in newspapers and on television, and was even mentioned in a speech by U.S. President Lyndon Johnson in 1965. A few months after the CIA report was issued, the U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger had addressed the UN under a banner of applying science to the problems that science has helped create, including his worry that the poorest nations were now threatened with the possibility of climatic changes in the monsoon belt and perhaps throughout the world. Still, the report's authors had a point. Climate change wasn't getting the attention it could have, and there was a lack of urgency in discussions. There was no large public outcry, nor did anyone seem to be trying to generate one. Exactly. The scientists were trying to say, hey, guys, hey, could be bad. They said that for decades and decades, and now that it's here, people are like, where's this climate change they were talking about for 30 years? I don't see it. Although initially prepared as a classified working paper, the report ended up in the New York Times a few years later. By this point, February 1977, the problem of burning fossil fuels was seen more through the lens of the domestic oil crisis rather than overseas famine. The climate crisis might still feel remote, the New York Times mused, but as Americans feel the difficulties of unusual weather combined with shortages of oil, perhaps this might unlock some change. The paper reported that both energy and climate experts shared the hope that the current crisis is severe enough and close enough to home to encourage the interests and planning required to deal with these long-range issues before the problems get too much worse. What did they do? The opposite. And yet, if anything, debate about climate change in the last third of the 20th century would be characterized as much by delay as concern, not least because of something the political analysts of the CIA seem to have missed: fight back from the fossil fuel industries. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I'm not going to read any more. But that is real. This article looks good. Maybe I'll bring this article back and read some more tomorrow. I just have to take off today. But man, let me tell you that, there a lot of people out there are like, oh, lockdowns were the worst for people. And yes, lockdowns affected a lot of people very negatively. A lot of people lost their businesses. A lot of people lost their livelihoods. There were a lot of problems with locking people down during COVID, but God dang it, the crush of people is overwhelming, especially if you live in LA. And I find myself every single day wishing for the lockdowns to come back, because it was quiet and peaceful, and the smog was gone. It's like we could do that without. We don't need a pandemic in order to do that. Right? We don't need a pandemic. We don't need and we don't need to do it on a level where it's like, fear mongering. We could just do it on a level of like, hey guys, we don't need to do this anymore. You totally can work from home. In fact, we'll pay you to work from home. We will pay you to work from home. We'll pay you to work from home. We'll pay you to stay home. We won't build any more of these office buildings or freeways, or we'll do very little road construction, and we're just gonna funnel all that tax money into helping people who are having a hard time get food and shelter. How about that? We'll take care of the homeless crisis, and we'll take care of the food price. It just wouldn't be that hard. Anyways. I'm just looking at the chats. Interesting chats going on in the YouTube chats. Rockfinners, y'all good? Osama, you don't relate to Rockfin content too much? Yeah, the Duran is good. I suggest Duran. Also, Garland Nixon is great. Garland Nixon's on Rockfin. And who else can I recommend? Actually, Sam Tripoli is pretty interesting. If you're just, he's actually a pretty interesting character. I've been watching his channel more. I kind of like Sam Tripoli. All right, guys, I have to take off. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Thanks for hanging out with me every single day on these here internet. And I will see you tomorrow at the regular time. Well, hold on. Scratch that. Strike that. Reverse that. There is a good chance I won't be here tomorrow. Actually, I may see you on Sunday. Yep, I think that's how it's gonna be. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Don't think the show is gonna happen tomorrow, but I appreciate you all hanging out with me today. And until next time, peace.